We are less than a week away from the New Hampshire primary, but Donald Trump is starting his day here in New York. In just a few hours, he's expected to be back in court for his second defamation case involving writer E. Jean Carroll. Yesterday, a federal jury was selected to decide how much Trump must pay Carroll for comments he made in 2019, denying that he sexually assaulted her. A previous jury already found Trump liable for defamation and sexual abuse of Carroll. Today's court appearance follows Trump's rally in New Hampshire last night, where he touted his win in the Iowa caucuses and took aim at third-place finisher Nikki Haley. But Trump got a ringing endorsement from one of his now former challengers, Vivek Ramaswamy. No surprise here. He actually joined the former president on stage last night, where supporters replied with chants of "for vice president."
He's young and he's got some young ideas too, and that's a good thing. So he has a big, beautiful, bright future ahead. Vivek Ramaswamy. Come on up, Vivek.
That we the people choose who leads this country. And so we heard we the people last night, and that is why last evening I met my friend here, we met in person, and I told him that I would endorse Donald J. Trump for President of the United States and do everything in my power to lead us to victory in this war.
Well, the Superior Court in Maine, meantime, could decide today if Trump's name can actually remain on the state's primary ballot. About a month ago, Secretary of State Sheena Bellows ruled that the former president is ineligible to appear on the ballot under the 14th Amendment. Trump's legal team appealed that decision, though, and a ruling on that appeal was expected today. But Trump's campaign requested a pause in an effort to let the U.S. Supreme Court weigh in. Because Maine is just one of many states where Trump is facing ballot eligibility challenges and lawsuits. CBS News campaign reporter Katrina Kaufman is here now to discuss. All right, Katrina, so as we mentioned, there are a lot of states that this is the same challenge he's facing, right? Where do things stand with Maine? There was an appeal. There's a request to halt things. Where are we?
My understanding is that there's a statutory deadline today for the Maine court to make a ruling. So I guess we'll have to see if they come out with one. But there are just very particular state laws there. I remember even back when Secretary of State Sheena Bellows made her decision, I interviewed her that day, and she even said, you know, that she had to make a ruling within, I believe it was 5 days at the time. She couldn't wait for the Supreme Court to make a decision, which kind of gave me the impression that maybe she would have liked to be able to give this time for the Supreme Court to weigh in on Colorado first, but there seem to be these very specific laws in Maine. So I guess we'll see what happens today with that. And basically, I think we can anticipate whatever ruling they make, one of the sides is going to appeal, and this will likely elevate to the Maine Supreme Court.
Right.
And in the meantime, the U.S. Supreme Court will be weighing Colorado. They have arguments on February 8th for that.
Okay, so we'll follow the bouncing ball from courtroom to courtroom.
Pretty much,
In the meantime, bouncing back to New York, another courtroom, the case with writer E. Jean Carroll. You were in the courtroom yesterday. She's supposed to be speaking today, is she? So what happened yesterday?
It was very striking. President Trump was there. He was sitting 2 rows behind E. Jean Carroll. She never turned around to look at him the whole time. She sat just very poised, looking forward or occasionally looking to the side if the jury was over there. And this was the first time that President Trump has been in a room with a jury for a trial.
Okay.
So I thought that was quite fascinating because he was really interested in who's going to be judging this case. He was looking at each juror. There were a lot of questions that were asked. You know, some were, do you think that there was interference in the 2020 election? You know, they were asking if people voted. There were a lot of politically oriented questions, and he was really scrutinizing these jurors and then conferring quite furiously with his lawyers about them. So, you know, he's very interested in who is going to weigh in on this decision, and I thought that that was very interesting to watch. And also, one of my colleagues, Claire Himes, was in the courtroom, and she said just seeing the jurors' faces, too, when they walked in and they realized it was Trump.
Wow.
You know, some of them just like the awe and confusion, or some people seemed totally unfazed. And so it was just kind of, I think it's an interesting dynamic that's going on.
I mean, I'm sure he's aware that he's going to have an impact. His presence will have an impact on jury members, whether it's positive or negative, who knows?
Yeah, and I want to add, too, actually, so the judge, every time he was saying that Trump sexually abused Carol, or that this case was just about damages because it's already been determined that Trump sexually abused her. And this case really is just determined the compensation for that. And so every time the judge said that, Trump would shake his head no, quite noticeably.
Interesting. So she's expected to testify. What is the expectation? What will we hear from her?
I mean, because as I said, this is about damages, it's compensatory and punitive, and really they're trying to show her reputational harm, what this has done to her life. And yesterday, her lawyer gave an opening argument in which, you know, she really depicted the way that this has dismantled Carol's career in a lot of ways, a career she worked really hard to build, and also the fear that she lives in now. They said that she sleeps with a gun next to her bed that her father gave her, I guess.
Wow.
You know, she's just inundated with all of these threats, and just the way it's really transformed her life. I mean, this is an 80-year-old woman, and even just while we were in court, supposedly Trump tweeted, I think, or posted on Truth Social, 22 different times about her in this trial.
Oh my gosh. It ought to be interesting. You're going to be back in the court?
I'll be back in court, yeah.
All right.
So I just imagine they'll be painting a picture of how this has impacted her.
Yeah, definitely. Katrina, thank you very much.
Thanks for having me.
All right. Well, Nikki Haley also took the stage in New Hampshire last night as she hopes to tap into the state's independent or undeclared voters. After finishing third in the Iowa caucuses, she's vowing to be stronger in New Hampshire. And last night, she took aim at the former president.
I voted for President Trump twice. I was honored to serve America in his administration. But rightly or wrongly, chaos follows him. You know I'm right. Chaos follows him. Look at what America is telling us. 70% of Americans have said they don't want to see another Trump-Biden rematch. The majority of Americans think that having two 80-year-olds running for president is not what they want.
Well, of course, Trump hit Haley back on social media last night, dismissing her third-place win in Iowa, saying she couldn't beat Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, who is, quote, out of money after spending millions of dollars on ads ahead of the event. Haley is also making waves after comments she made on Fox News last night. She said America was, quote, never been a racist country. When asked, Haley said that she's experienced racism in the past, but doesn't want to raise her children to think they're disadvantaged. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis echoed those comments last night during a New Hampshire CNN town hall. He agreed that the U.S. is not a racist country, but acknowledged the challenges it's faced over generations.
Well, the U.S. is not a racist country, and we've overcome things in our history. You know, I think the founding fathers, they established a set of principles that are universal. Now, they may not have been universally applied at the time, but I think they understood what they were doing. They understood that those principles would be the engine for progress for generations to come. Yes, we've had challenges with how we've dealt with race as a society, but we are the best, no matter what your background is. If you have one place you want to grow up and have the most opportunity, it doesn't matter your background. This is the best place to grow up and to pursue your dreams of any place in the entire world.
Well, a spokesperson for Haley's campaign defended her comments, saying there was a difference between the U.S. being a racist country and recognizing that racism has always existed.